Hey, welcome everyone to a review of the Sony LinkBuds Fit noise cancelling truly wireless earbuds. Now, if you want to see a written version of this review, you can find a link to my website in the video description. And the price and brand is probably best compared to the Bose Quiet Comfort Earbuds 2024 edition. Those are pretty darn good noise cancelling earbuds. I'll link to that review in the description as I reviewed it. I'll draw some quick comparisons to that, see is this better, the Fit, or is the Bose better? So let's continue on with the price first. Here in Canada, the Fits are priced at $300 Canadian, whereas the United States is priced at $200. So how does the Bose Quiet Comfort earbuds do? Well, they're $50 cheaper in Canada and $20 cheaper in the United States, so there's a slight advantage on that side. Going back to the Fit, they're supporting Bluetooth 5.3 for connectivity, and in the range in the manual is listed as 32 feet, but in my testing, I got about 50 feet with a clear line of sight, so that's excellent. It does support dual connectivity, so you can connect to two devices at the same time. If one of them happens to be a cell phone and the other one's a laptop, you listen to music, and a call comes in, it'll prioritize the call and pause your audio content. As for how many devices you can keep in memory before having to pair them all over again, Sony documentation says a whopping 8 devices. I got 3 in my testing, which is pretty good, so that's gonna be more than enough for most people. Which in almost every aspect is comparable to the Bose Quiet Comforts, except they only support to 5 devices in memory, but honestly, most people are fine with 3 or 4 devices, so that's okay. Going back to the Fit, for accessories in the box, technically the charging case is not one, but I count it anyway. There are 4 earbud tip sizes available, 1 already on the earbuds and another 3 adjustment sizes available, which is strange because some really well-known tech news websites that have reviewed the Fit gave it a negative point for saying there's only 3 earbud fittings. There should have been more, except there are 4. As you might have seen in my unboxing video on my channel, as I'm showing now as well. And to get that fact straight, all I had to do is pass grade 2 math class. That's right, but I can't seem to pass grade 4 math. Man, that's a tricky class. Multiplications of 2 times 2, it's just too advanced for me. Continuing with the accessories, there's also a USB-A to USB-C cable, which would have been better as a pure USB-C cable, and that's measuring at 6 inches. There's no power adapter included in the box, as they expect you to plug it into a cell phone adapter into an outlet, or into your computer like I do. The earbuds themselves look interesting, but are nice and compact. It's easy enough to conceal under a toque, as I did when we got 60 centimeters of snow over 4 days this past week. For my American friends, that's 25 inches of snow. Absolute nightmare scenario, just thinking about it, you know, my back. But overall, very comfortable while shoving that snow here in the Toronto area. There's one catch though when it comes to comfort. For some reason, my left earbud would have this high whistling, screeching sound, maybe once per an earbud charge, which is quite a bit if you think about it. It was so high pitched I had to yank it out of my ear because it actually hurt my ear. I thought this was a one-off just for me, so I fully updated the firmware, played with different settings, ANC on, transparency on, and other stuff. Didn't fix it. I then found a very lengthy Reddit forum thread in which other people complained about the exact same thing. In fact, it also seems to impact the Sony LinkBuds S, which I have not reviewed yet. Maybe I will in the future. So this seems to be a Sony generalized problem, so it's very unfortunate that impacts the comfort level. Going back to the body design, despite how unique the earbuds look, they fit very nicely in the ears. One of the most comfortable earbuds I've ever used. As for colors, they do come in black, as I have, green, white, and violet. The case looks decent, nothing special, but again, another welcome compact design. It fits nicely in pockets and isn't bothersome. And it's also thanks because the case is wearing a very light 41 grams. And these earbuds are quite comfortable for a few hours straight. I tend to average about 3 hours straight per session with and without glasses in each type of session. It didn't bother me whatsoever, and it didn't irritate my ears when I had the glasses on, so it'll be great for everyone overall. And because they fit in so snug, they're also great for workouts because they don't shift around. They're also IPX4 rated, which makes them sweat and splash resistant. However, there's no mention about the case being resistant to anything, so do not get the case wet. It doesn't seem like Sony sells official ear tip replacement units, so if you lose them, you're out of luck. Unless, of course, maybe you can find them from a third-party retailer like Amazon or something. The controls are a bit of a letdown. Out of the box, on the left earbud, you have to double tap to switch between ANC mode and transparency mode. ANC being active noise cancelling, and transparency basically projecting sound into the microphones and into the earbuds so you can hear surroundings better. It then goes from a double tap and skips all the way to 5 taps, yes, you heard me right, to decrease the volume. On the right earbud is double tap to play pause content, and triple tap for next track, and tap 5 times or more to increase the volume. You might be wondering where the rest of the tap commands are, like where's single tap for anything? Well, tapping a single left or right earbud, not possible. You can't do anything with it. You can't even customize that in the app settings, unfortunately. You also can't set a 4 tap command, except volume requires you to tap it 5 times. Makes no sense. I don't know what Sony was thinking here. You can set some custom commands in the app, but there's a huge catch. For example, if you were to set ANC double tap for that, well, you can't set another triple tap command to go to the next track or previous track. It just gets stuck there, as you're kind of seeing on the app now. It's horribly designed. This is one of the worst control functionalities I've ever used for a Sony device. To make matters worse, tapping on the earbuds themselves sometimes don't seem to register. Double tap is fine, triple tap is somewhat okay, but I have never gotten volume to increase or decrease on either earbud except once in my weeks of testing. And this is a common problem all over the internet. I'm not the only one experiencing this issue. Sony has this gimmicky feature. If you enable on the app, you can touch, a surface around your face, just around the earbuds. So you can use your face as a touch pressing area. It hasn't worked once for me, so it's another useless feature. There's one really cool thing that has worked the best out of any Sony device I've ever used so far. It's usually never worked properly up until now. And to speak to, listen to someone. So basically, if you're sitting around, you have ANC mode on, music playing. The second you start speaking, the earbuds will pick that up. Within a second, it'll pause your content and switch to transparency mode, allowing you to have a conversation with someone quickly. After a set amount of time, which you can customize in the app, it'll then turn ANC back on and resume music. It works great. Even in a crowded room with a lot of people talking, it never picked up someone else's voice by accident. It always knew when I was speaking and activated that function. Ironically, the Smart Assistant functionality was horrible when testing with Android and Google Assistant, so it would activate Google Assistant just fine. But when I start speaking my commands, in a very crowded area, it would pick up everyone's voice. So my command would turn into a 3-sentence command because he's literally listening to everybody. I've never had this happen with any earbuds from any manufacturer ever, so Smart Assistant capabilities are just terrible. Again, going to another positive side, there's passive play pause. When you take off the earbuds, it pauses content. When you put them back in, it resumes. This functionality works very well, and you can turn this feature off in the app if you wanted to. All right, noise canceling. When using them in a situation like, say, on a plane ride. So a low-pitched sound at high volume, they don't perform that well. Despite them being mid-tier price, they perform more at the budget-friendly pricing. Can you listen to podcasts and news on a plane ride? Yeah, but you have to crank up the volume quite a bit. It's going to irritate your ears, especially if you're flying for almost 6 hours. It might be passable on a bus engine ride. That's like the most you could probably bear with it. What about canceling out higher pitched noises, like say just general background noise and people talking? It is utterly terrible. It makes almost no difference at all. It's like turning off ANC mode and having regular earbud mode. It's like does nothing. In a crowded room with people talking, I can hear everything clearly when no content's playing on my media device. That situation when I was shoveling snow, 60 centimeters of snow, the house across the street, but 2 houses down that way, they had their snowblower going. And I could still hear it while I was playing deep house music. I could hear the scraping of my shovel easily. It's practically useless in that situation, so very disappointing. What about transparency mode to hear your surroundings? Well, then it performed almost at premium priced earbuds. I could hear everything clearly. The only thing I noticed with it is that despite the conversations with people being super clear, I could hear everything amazing, is that when talking to someone, there's a slight echo after them. It's very subtle, hardly noticeable, but they performed amazing in transparency mode. Oddly enough, there's no side tone mode, which basically allows you to hear your own voice and your surrounding noise to see how loud it is on a phone call when you're talking to someone. That's not usually expected on mid-tier priced earbuds or headphones. I only say it's weird because usually Sony includes that feature. They didn't this time, which I'll give it a neutral point because they're mid-tier priced earbuds. To get around this, technically you could turn on transparency mode and then take a phone call, but that's a bit cumbersome. As for earbud battery performance, with ANC on, Sony claims to get 5.5 hours. In my testing, I got 8.1 hours average per full charge at 60% volume. I thought that was a bit too high, so I even tried it with transparency mode. I averaged the same thing, so I'm not sure why it's so much higher than Sony's, but that's not really a bad thing. With regular earbud mode, Sony claims to get about 8 hours per charge, and I averaged 9.2 hours on a full charge. As for how long does it take to fully charge the earbuds, Sony doesn't list that anywhere, but I always averaged 1 hour. To recharge the earbuds, they just magnetically snap into the case and they fit in rather snug and securely. The case USB-C charging port is located on the back of the case. Now Sony claims it'll take about 2 hours to recharge the case. I always average closer to about 1 3/4, so just a little bit under their claim. So if the case is fully charged and the earbuds are all fully charged, how many times can you get a full earbud charge? I could get 4 and a tiny bit at the end. So with ANC mode on, I averaged 37 hours total, and with regular earbud mode, I got 42 hours total, which is pretty respectable. And no, the case does not support wireless charging, but that's not expected at mid-tier priced earbuds. Now I'm doing my microphone test in a quiet setting with the Fit earbuds, and when I switch to a noisy environment and switch to the camera microphone just to let you hear how bad it is, and we'll see, can the Fits isolate only my voice and suppress the noise from the surrounding noise. And then last, we're gonna do a wind test with the fan sitting about 3.5 feet off camera just over there. Okay, so replicating a noisy environment with the camera microphone, switching over to LinkBuds Fit microphone. I'm gonna see if my voice really comes through over the surrounding noise. And stop talking for a few seconds to see what it's like. All right, lastly, I'm doing a wind test, and I'm going in various directions to see if the microphones will get distorted with any wind noise coming through as I speak out. Audio codecs supported are quite a bit as expected from Sony with SBC, AAC, LDAC, and LC3. My audio testing was done with the app selection to choose audio quality over Bluetooth stability, so let's continue on. Out of the box with a flat profile, it was a little disappointing even for mid-tier priced earbuds. I was a little surprised by Sony. They usually push bass a little bit higher, and I'm a bass head. I didn't really notice that too much here. However, when you go into the equalizer, there's a bit of a weird situation with the bass. Now, Sony is really well known to increase and emphasize bass, and you can do that with the equalizer setting. However, when you do that, it seems to make the bass a little bit louder, but it sacrifices a little bit of the vocals and highs. I was a little disappointed. However, here's the strange thing. If you leave the bass neutral in the app, but you adjust their custom equalizer for clear bass, bass gets thumping and pushing hard. That's the kind of sound I wanted and I like. And when you do that, there's no sacrifice to vocals and highs, which is strange. Usually you can adjust either one, there's no problem. For some reason, the Fits seems to only like clear bass adjustments. So because they're mid-tier priced earbuds, I don't give it a negative point that the bass performance on the equalizer is bad, because the clear bass functionality more than makes up for it. As for increasing mids for vocals, man, I was like really surprised at how strong it pushes a vocalist's voice. That's a bit hard to say. A vocalist's voice up in front of the rest of the instrumentals. It didn't sacrifice anything in audio quality, by the way. It's just like when listening to songs like Niagara Falls by The Weeknd, I was like, yo, bro, you're getting too close up in my face. I had to decrease the mids a little bit. Just goes to show you how strong you can push things, but in a good way. As for increasing highs, it didn't get too sharp for my ears. You notice that nice tweaking sounds in a lot of different songs, especially in EDM. It was a perfect amount when increasing the highs up quite a bit. As I mentioned during the comfort section of this review, wearing with glasses is great, but there's also no impact to audio quality because the earbuds are so tiny. They don't mess around with anything, so you'll be in for a treat. All right, so we're in the app right now, but I want to make this very clear that I'm going to skip through this really quickly because there's just way too many functions to go through. I highly recommend that you pause at any point and read for yourself if anything interests you. One of the things I noticed that Sony has kind of changed their app design from previous devices. I'm not a fan of this because what they have is these kind of shortcuts here at the front home page. However, the deeper granular settings are hard to get into. You'd have to go through something like ambient sound control or equalizer and tap the right arrow, and then this is where you get the rest of the settings. It's hard and annoying for someone who's not tech savvy to find these deep, rich features, so poor app design right off the bat. This equalizer settings, which I kind of went through very quickly. You can find your equalizer, which goes through a sound test. I just kind of ignored it, and other various functionalities here. Going over to systems where you can adjust some of the customs controls if they work womp womp properly, and some other minor settings which you can pause the video at any point and look at them if you want to. There are some other controls like head gesture, which is it's just a silly gimmick. It does nothing. It's just not even worth mentioning more into. Then other basic things like power saving mode and what should the earbuds do when you take them off, as well as firmware updates. The other stuff under services more based on partnerships with like music services like Amazon Music and Spotify, not really worth mentioning. Discover is just some tips and tricks for Sony-based devices, including the Fits, as well as menu is kind of like your history of when did you last update and so on and so forth. I've reviewed a ton of Sony audio products on my channel. Some I've just butchered because truthfully for the consumer like you to say they're not good, and some are spectacular. I was expecting the Fits to be a great mid-tier priced earbuds, but I would say they're best avoided. In fact, I would highly recommend that you go for the Bose Quiet Comfort 24s that I mentioned earlier because they're slightly cheaper. They are amazing for ANC in any situation. Absolutely spectacular, good audio quality, Are they perfect? No, but they're much better. I suggest you check that out. Again, a link to that review is in the video description. And that's a wrap for this video. So if you found this video useful, be sure to check out my social links and website link in the video description. Hit the like button and subscribe for more great audio equipment reviews. And thanks for watching.